So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And this is, let's say, mindfully inquiring into non-duality group. And I somehow ended up with this acronym MIND, which is quite suitable. And what we do here is mostly self-exploration. And there is no specific direction that we go into. There's a basic structure that we, let's say, go into a certain topic, which is going to be around the self. And we have like a discussion and maybe a contemplative practice if we have time at the end, or sometimes we begin with that. So my role here is not like a teacher, but more like a facilitator. So I like to open the space where I can bring things that I've learned in my life experience and in my research, and where other people can feel that they can bring the same kind of things too. As we are, I see everyone as like be this like sort of a sailboat floating in this vast ocean. The individual self, the person that we are, I see them as the sailboats, and who we really are is that ocean that is beneath all of us. So we all have access to the same one ocean. So I like to invite all these sailboats to float together. That's all. So that's how I like to facilitate and make sure there's a feeling of equality, or not a hierarchy in this approach. Does that make sense?
Indeed.
Yeah. So I have something in my mind that I can go into. But before I do that, I would like to ask both of you, is there something that is on your mind, a topic that you feel like, oh, I want to ask this or explore this? Yes, Gloria.
It's not a topic, but you just mentioned that you're involved in research. Are you in middle of something right now?
So I'm not currently doing any research. I did most of it during my PhD, which ended last year. So I'm at this moment not doing much.
Okay.
Research, like academic research.
Okay.
However, I'm always doing some research, which is very informal, or going into looking at YouTube videos or talking to people. That is a form of research and understanding. So there's some self-exploration is going on constantly in some way or the other, not the academic research right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you for asking. Any other question or topic or insight that any of you wants to share or bring up here?
Not for me, not today.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me know. Something that I have, which I'm currently exploring, is, let's say, the physical aspect of the self, at least, which is, let's say, this body. And one thing that I pondered upon recently is a chiropractor. So what they do with her spine, with her nervous system, with her bones, and how that impacts our daily functioning and our sense of self, and how happy we feel. So I'm just kind of diving into that personally myself, and I recently started receiving care from a chiropractor. What really stood out to me was the diagram when I see the spine, when I see the backbone, and how the nerves are connected to each vertebrae, and how your neck is, or your upper back and lower back and the tailbone, how if one of them is not in the right place, or one of them got flipped a little or displaced a little, it can start impacting certain organs in the body. It can start impacting your mind. It can start creating pain at a maybe later stage, and so many things that happen as a result of some uh, disalignment or unalignment in that backbone. Another interesting thing that I realized during one of those workshops or like presentation was when a baby is born, the first thing that is formed in that tiny life is not the brain, it's not hands or heart or like fingers, it's it's the spinal cord. So when you see like an x-ray of a mom who's pregnant, the baby, like brand new baby, the first thing you can start seeing is the spine coming up. I know heartbeat happens earlier, but then there's the first real figure, real structure is the spinal cord, and then comes these other organs fully formed. They start taking shape, and they start, you know, becoming more like a person. So it made me think that that's where the this person is beginning. That's where the starting point is of this personal self, let's say, is happening. And each time there is let's say, a symptom that a person is experiencing, like pain or discomfort in different part of the body, the root of that can be found in the backbone. I was really amazed that when I was going through the assessment, and then the chiropractor like used her hammer on my knee, and I didn't even tell her. I just told one thing, that I have lower back pain. But she, just by like checking in, but just by doing her assessment, she could locate that I have knee pain also. I didn't tell her, but she could tell me like there is something here. And I like, yeah, I only experience that when I'm playing tennis or sometimes running, but I don't even, it doesn't bother me much. It's so kind of mild. But I understood like she realized that there is a specific part of the spine which is not in place in my case, which is impacting, let's say, my lower back and like left thigh and also the left knee. I didn't tell her other parts, but she could predict based on where it's, because she found the root. So she knew where these nerves go in the system. Why I'm bringing this up is like it really took me to my style of therapy or my style of doing psychological counseling, or also my style of doing, let's say, identity alignment. My work all often involves alignment of the identity. Like in that case, if I fell down from a bike or during skating, whatever accidents I had as a kid, there was some trauma that happened to that backbone where it got displaced. At that point of trauma, there was some nerves which were supposed to just flow downward, upward, or downward, whichever it's same, like in a flow. They started getting scattered, flowing in a different direction. And they need to, that spine need to get into the place. It's the spine needs realignment so the nerves can flow where they're supposed to flow. It really made me think about how the sense of self is more like very much like that spine. This is who I am. And when a difficult situation happens, let's say a trauma or some difficult event happens, like someone's death or an car accident can also lead to this. That sudden event hits the self in a way that it gets unaligned and starts thinking in a certain other way. Thoughts start happening in a different direction, more hurtful, more negative thoughts start happening to the psyche. If I'm just comparing the psyche to this backbone situation and how difficult experiences can lead to some form of new kind of stream of thinking, new kind of way of living. And not to say that it is right or wrong, but just to point out that something changed in that moment. And more to go more deeper, I would say, like, when a child is born, there is no sense of self for some years. Like, I'm living with a toddler. I don't think he thinks that I am this big toddler breaking things and causing trouble. He's not thinking that I am the cause of whatever. There's no I there. So as the I develops, comes these other branches too. Like, and these other branches are sort of, let's say, when the parents tell us, like, oh, you are a bad boy, or you broke something, you will get punished, or you, if you do work hard, you're going to get a bike. It's very like random things. Or you're such a funny baby, or you're such a cute baby. Whatever narrations we hear start creating extra layers or extra branches of this I. So let's say the I is the stem, or let's say the backbone. Now, each time a new narration comes, like, I am a good person, I am a studious kid, or I am not good at cooking. I'm just making random examples, but maybe at earlier childhood, the first things that we start hearing start becoming these additional eyes. So there's only one stem, but then hundreds of branches, and each branch has hundreds or thousands of more descriptions, or like leaves that are growing on them. And we stay stuck in those narrations, those thinkings, those beliefs. So I'm just trying to make a physical diagram or a map of one's identity. And what happens when I ask this question, who am I? Which is my usual question, whether I'm here as a sitting in a meditation group, or it often also sometimes very often with certain people comes when I'm doing therapy. Like, who's this I? When someone is sharing, like, oh, I'm so anxious. I'm I'm always like anxious in this situation. I have this problem. I I don't like this about myself. So I always ask, who's this I? That question takes them to reflect, like, where this I. So if I find that leaf, the leaf can this question can take them to the root of that leaf, which is a branch, and then further questioning takes them to the root of the branch, which is the stem, and then further questioning takes them to the root of the stem, which is, let's say, the roots. So we really explore what's the starting point, where is this coming from, and this exploration leads to different places in different people, and often we don't find that I. That also happens. We start looking and there's no I there. And that's when these other ideas of form is emptiness and emptiness is form come up. They can make sense somehow to describe this no I or no self kind of experience. Anyways, before we go into that bigger topic, I just wanted to throw this to both of you. Like, is this making sense? Is this imagery of the I identity, or like the diagram or map of the identity, making sense? Can you relate to this, and what came to your mind? What do you think?
I have a question towards the last part of what you were saying. You said no home is self, and self
Huh.
is no home. What did you say?
Oh, I said form. There's a saying in Buddhist teachings, often there's a
Mm,
I don't know if someone's quote, if this is someone's quote,
mm.
form, like shape.
A form?
Form
Mm, mm.
is emptiness. Emptiness is form.
Emptiness.
Yeah.
Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Can you elaborate on that?
Hmm.
In association to the question we always ask, who am I?
Hmm.
I think you were saying when you ask who am I, that you
Hmm.
don't always necessarily find yourself.
Hmm.
So is the quote, no form is no form is empty?
Hmm.
Oh, it doesn't match.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that is
I
I
got.
I makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Let's see. It is mm, usually when we ask that question, who am I? Often a belief comes. A belief, let's say, I'm Mahib.
Mm,
I'm Mahib is nothing but a belief.
mm,
Someone named I'm Indian, another belief.
mm,
Oh, I'm a guy, I'm male, another belief.
mm,
I am a good person, another belief.
mm,
And then, or I can say I am this body, that which is also another belief.
mm,
What I'm trying to say is we often come answer this question through a belief. We often respond with a belief. And beliefs are exactly like that tree diagram or the spine and nerves diagram. These are more like physical things that we can perceive. Every belief, you are aware of belief. Usually, my next question is, are you aware of what you just said? So if you say, if I, let's say Mahip says, Mahip, I'm Mahip, I'm an Indian guy. And then who who is aware of this statement? Who is aware of this belief? Then I feel more blank, like I don't understand who's aware. What does that even mean? Because I cannot see the awareness. I can see, let's say, be aware of these beliefs. I can be aware of thoughts. I can be aware of feelings. I can be aware of physical sensations. But I can never be aware of this emptiness, this awareness, the one who's aware of all of this, all these answers, the one who's aware of all of them. I am not able to be aware of that from a logical point of view. Just like I can never see my eyes, I know eyes are here because everything I see becomes an evidence that the eyes are present. So this is a more paradoxical logic. I cannot see the eye as like I can not give you an evidence, or I cannot find an evidence that oh look my eyes. I can oh look there's a phone. I can logically phone is here. It exists. Bottle is here. I see it. This bottle exists in front of me, so it's here. These are this is the most simple logic. For eyes, I need a paradoxical logic because eyes are I cannot objectively see them. I can only know the eyes are here because the process of seeing is happening through them. So also this, let's say, emptiness sort of awareness, I can never experience it the way I experience a belief, a thought, a sensation, or these ideas or memories. This awareness is just like that I was always here, but I do not experience it objectively in front of me. Is this making sense?
Yes, and I don't, maybe I'm thinking again, but the word emptiness seemed to be the opposite of the I. To me, I that we cannot see or feel, but it's always there, is not emptiness, but it's more the opposite, the fullness.
Yes.
That's how I understand.
Sure. Sure.
Mm,
Yes, I agree with you completely.
mm,
The concepts sometimes can become barriers.
mm, mm,
So, and today I just said, because I was trying to make sense of that quote, form is emptiness,
mm,
emptiness is
mm,
form.
mm, mm.
So I used emptiness more often. I used emptyfulness. This self or this I or this awareness is empty and full at the same time.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for asking. Any other reflections or questions or comments on what we are
I I
discussing?
I, I like the analogy a lot, Mahit. I think it works really well for kind of zooming out is how I like to think about it. Is and kind of feeling that space that is instead of getting lost in the narrative of the tree of I, so to speak.
Mm,
So yeah, I think it worked really well. I've been practicing in a couple of different ways. Um, and one of the methods I've been practicing recently is when I'm sitting after doing my body scan, I'll visualize as if there's like a like a grid, almost like a giant grid, and
mm,
of that grid, my mind, or where I imagine my mind, which often ends up being like what where I picture the behind of my eyes to be, is the
mm,
middle of that kind of 3D grid.
mm,
And as soon as I feel comfortable in that, and so I was sitting there with my eyes closed, I could feel that I am, that the supposed I is in the middle of this grid. And then I will actually go to the corner of the grid and visualize my body being in the middle. And it's like I'm looking at myself from the third person in my
mm,
mind's eye. And then
mm,
as I do that, I almost sometimes I switch to another corner, and it almost makes it so that I both identify with my body in the middle and that feeling of behind my eyes, and also with the perspective from the third person. And then as I do that, it slowly melts away to help me identify with the grid instead of the I. um, and so when I think about that, I think the way you described it works really well, in conjunction with that, because it's like instead of the narratives we're telling ourselves, it's identifying with formlessness instead of form, kind of thing.
mm,
Um, and recently, I guided someone through their first psychedelic experience at a music festival, and he
mm,
was telling me at one point, um, that he's starting to identify with everything. He's like, oh well, now I feel like I'm the music. I feel like I am my friend over there. I feel like I am
mm,
my body, but I'm also this and this and that. And I kept helping him, and I'm like, great. Well, you're also this. What else are you? What else are you? What else are you? And eventually, he
mm,
was like, I can feel like there's a little bit of me in everything. And I was like, that's fantastic. Like, you should feel like that. And then I was like, well, what's on the other side of that? If you're a little bit of everything, what does that
mm,
actually make you? And he stood
mm,
there and he thought about it for a while, and he thought about it for a while. And he's like, well, if I'm a bit of everything, then I guess I am everything. And if I am everything, then on the other side of that, there's nothing. And then he was
mm,
quiet for an hour.
mm. Wow.
So
Mm,
yeah, it's I think your analogy is really good, and I'm gonna try and think about that myself as far as how I can bring other people into a similar place of building their own tree of narratives to then look outside of it.
mm, mm. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. And as you were describing your experience, I just closed my eyes and I could just really feel grounded listening to you. So I'm,
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful and I'm so happy for your friend that he had this experience with you as well. And that is such an exciting work. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for facilitating.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other questions or comments for now?
Nope.
So, how do we? I find it's so much easier when I'm doing it with for somebody else. I can keep asking them back and forth, and I sometimes do it well for myself too, and I often do not. It's more challenging. So what the question that's coming to my mind is like how can we facilitate this for our own self? How to assimilate this practice for this one?
Mahi, maybe you can help me. It's it's so blurred that I don't even know how to explain. So trying to find not this organic self or the emotional self, but to go beyond.
Mm.
I don't know how to say it. If I the people around me is hypnotherapists, and we always say imagine and visualize it. And they do that. I do that with my clients, but it makes me angry. I can't imagine. I hate to imagine. I can do it, but it's not comfortable.
Mm.
What I do for myself is even the answer to a question, or let's say what do I want to draw, or even the answer to the multiplication table, I don't think. So I don't like to make myself visualize or imagine.
Mm.
What my brain does is just wait. Even for the answer for 2 times 2, I wait
Mm.
for the answer to pop up.
Mm. Mm.
So what do you want to eat? I don't think logically, but I wait for that pop up. It's always that. So I don't know how other people do. I
Mm.
know they make themselves think and they come up to an answer. So what was your question?
My
um
question was
yeah,
how to guide yourself.
guide yourself.
Let's say
Mm.
how do you guide your personal I to that universal I?
Okay. So I can see myself doing the grid like Timur was saying,
Mm.
because it's not. I think it's more objective, or it's not personalized. Because if I imagine and visualize where you are, and then my thoughts comes in, or what I want comes in. But grid is just a grid, and you're looking from the corner, so you're not making it up.
Mm.
How do you do it? How do you make yourself understand at moments? There are moments where you are organic self,
Mm.
so you notice that, and then maybe you may want to step back and kind of.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I want to check with Timur first, and then
Okay.
if Timur has any questions or like reflections or answers.
I'm sorry, I couldn't explain too well.
Oh, no worries. I was just asking a question.
Yeah, Gloria, I kind of like how you described it actually, because of like, it's interesting, right? Can you ever force a thought? Like, where does the thought come from, right? So, like, to your point of like, when you sit there and wait for the answer for 2 + 2, you're not getting it from anywhere. It just comes to you, right? But like, where is that coming from? And so it's like it's coming into that grid of whatever your awareness is, and that's where all those thoughts or knowledge or whatever we call it is floating across before you notice it and say it or write it down or whatever. And so whenever I think about that, I think you're already actually kind of close to sitting with it, because if you already know you're not forcing the thoughts, they're just coming, then all you have to do is start to notice, where are they coming from, right? Who is the, like, what is the awareness from which you are noticing the thoughts are coming? And if you search for where they're coming from or how you are noticing them, you'll kind of find that there is no noticer. You and the noticer and the thoughts are kind of the same. They're all kind of happening in the same place, but they're not. It's a weird paradox. And so that's, I think about that frequently when I'm trying to find myself. I usually do like a body scan and feel my body first, and then I think about whatever I'm feeling. It grounds me sometimes in like a weird non-body way, to realize that whatever I'm feeling and whatever I'm thinking about it's all kind of in the same place, and behind that is I don't know, like an expansiveness, a large space that, I don't know, it feels right. It's hard to describe it. That's all I got.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of understand. Yes, I think I do. I think I do understand what you're saying.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed your description and your way of doing it.
Sweet.
So will there be a time when I will know where that is coming from?
I think that's the question for everyone. I don't know. My answer to that would be, I guess sometimes it feels like you might know or unlock a deeper layer, but every time I feel like I've unlocked something or that I've learned something, and I feel confident that, oh, I got there, or I know something, moments or years or months later, it's like, oh, there's another layer. There's something else I didn't understand.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know. I think it's just trusting yourself. It's almost like there's an element of faith in just trusting yourself and knowing that whatever you're feeling or whatever you're attaching yourself to understand is valid in that moment. And just having faith in that is sometimes enough, even if it's not right by whatever so and so says. I think it's just trusting in the faith that that's right for you right now, and it's helping you in some way, I think is often enough to just keep going.
Yes. And yeah, it's so vast. It's you can't put it in a box or make it part of it. It's just too vast. Then yeah, the more you know, the more experiences you have, maybe you will know that you you don't know everything because it's too vast or too empty, too big to hold anything.
100%. It's fleeting too. The more you try to hold it, the more it flees. And the more you try to count it, the more you're like, whoa, it's infinite. And the more you're like, whoa, infinity, it's like, well, yeah, infinity is infinite. You can't count it. So yeah, I feel you on that. I think about that often.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I'm really, yeah. Thank you so much, Timur. And thank you for asking, Gloria. I'm enjoying this a lot. And yeah, I'm happy that this is happening. This is what I want to do more. Like, I get high just listening to these kind of things. And like,
yeah, me too.
It's just, yeah, yeah. And I'm also noticing like how I was so tired and sleep deprived at the beginning. And I'm feeling like so light and happy just by being here. So thank you, both of you, for exploring this with me.
Awesome. Thank you, Mahip. I wouldn't be here without you.
So glad. So one more thing that came to my mind as I was listening to you, both of you, was, so to Gloria's question, will I ever know where that is coming from? What came to my mind was directly this question: who's this I? Who's asking this question? And often that I is seeking something. So there's a seeker, right? So that's another way I like to label these branches, these identities that we think we are. And that's also, now I'm answering your earlier question of how do I get to that awareness, or is again asking like, who is every thought comes. I notice what's the agenda. So for example, I'm hurting, oh, I'm just so annoyed. Like, who? Instantly a question comes, who is annoyed? Who is this person? So I'll start looking for this I. Or when I'm working, when I'm tired, or whichever, I'm thinking about I'm worrying about some situation, this question comes. This question, let's say, was planted in my system like medicine. When my teacher started asking me this question many years ago, and then I started asking myself, like, who am I? Or who am I? Who's here? What is real? What is not real? Like, these questions are very introspective, and they come up each time there's a narration that is happening, a narration in which there is anxiety, there is, negative thinking, there is some energy which is sucking my mind up. This question comes. And sometimes I continue to stay lost in the narrations. And sometimes this question really like dissolves the I. Sometimes a series of questions starts coming when I realize, who's this I? I see, oh, that's somebody who's seeking some relief in future. Let's say, oh, I'm so tired. Okay, I just want to go to sleep. So this I is seeking rest and sleep or peace. And this I believes that this will happen in future. When I go to sleep, then I can feel good. Sometimes I'm worrying about this exam I have to take. Oh God, I have to study so much. Da, 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 da. Like, who's worried? Who's anxious? This question comes. And again, there's somebody who's seeking the completion of this exam and being done with some task of taking this exam and studying. Again, seeking some peace or relief in that near future. And so this questioning often dissolves these separate branches that are plopping out from the awareness. I can also say awareness is the stem in these different beliefs, the one who's seeking, the one who worries too much, the one who's thinking too much, the thinker me, the believer, the, let's say, and sometimes it's very positive too. I'm a good person, I'm a helper, I am a therapist. So I want to continue these good identities because I'm seeking some pleasure or validation from outside world. If I do a good job, my boss will be happy. If I do a good job, my clients will be happy. If I do this more, I'll be more rich. So there's some seeking for pleasure, validation. So sometimes it's negative thinking and sometimes it's more like positive thinking. But both are forms of thinking. Both are branches that take me away from the stem, the awareness. So questioning is one of my styles that has helped, or that dissolves this separate me. And another piece is noticing what's here, what's really here. So thoughts come and go, but the space in which they are arising is just here. This never goes away. So this is the part which is more exploration. This is the, let's say, the second step. First step is to identify this separate branch of separate I and see and questioning it until it gets dissolved or not, but that's like a process. Number two step is like, okay, this branch comes and goes. These leaves and branches come and go. But what about what's more permanent? What's always just here? These are temporary. Let's look for the permanent. So each time I find the same one permanent presence. So the qualities of this awareness is it's always present. It's not like it's not in the past or future. It's outside of time itself. So it's just always just the now. And it's just here. It's not limited. It's unboxable. I can never put it into a box like you were saying earlier. It's this empty space. Like in this room, there are this empty space. I can never hold it. Like Timur was saying, it's fleeting. I keep on trying to understand, comprehend, intellectualize it, and this mind keeps on failing. The same way my hand keeps on trying to grasp empty space. Try to put it into a box, but never happens. Never happened. So it's unboxable, boundless. So present, boundless, and stable or peaceful or changeless. The more I explore, like, what is the nature of this awareness? That, oh wow, it's boundless and also it's just here. It's also never changing. Just like this empty space. This person who's renting the house might go away. These walls will fall down. The paint and carpet, everything will go away. New people might come, new house might come. Aliens might come, start living on Earth. Who knows? But this empty space is just here. Nobody can even touch this empty space. Nobody can change it. It's indestructible. And there comes peace and real happiness. So, like, when I get identified with this empty fullness awareness, I embody that fearlessness darkness because I know I am indestructible beyond birth and death, because this empty fullness was never created, can never be destroyed. It is just here, changeless. So this is, let's say, the second stage of exploration, which establishes the first, let's say, the mind, or makes the mind, breaks the identification from the mind and establishes identification with the awareness. Is this a helpful description? Or any questions or comments about this?
I like it.
Say that again.
Sorry, I said I like it.
Okay, you like, okay. You? Okay. Any other questions or comments? We are close to our time, so just checking. Any last questions or comments or intentions for the week before we end our group?
Just a thought.
Yeah.
There are so many YouTubes talking about trauma. And there are many different ways to work with trauma through psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. Maybe not analysis. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. But to me, they seem to be focusing on the branches so much.
Yeah.
That the patients or clients are always bombarded with this traumatic images and experiences. So they're there all the time. But if they can be helped to step back from that and really find the I or the screen, then even they with the traumatic incidences, they may be able to find peace. I hope they will find peace. I don't want them to be stuck.
Yeah.
Because I get stuck all the time with the little things, like, oh, I have to wash the dishes, and it can be fun and good experience, but if one makes every little thing or everything that happens in this world a stress factor, then it's such a not a good life. But if everything will happen anyway, so if you can find the I, then it's so much peaceful within the chaos. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thought. Thank you so much for sharing. I agree, and I wish the same for everyone who has difficulties in life and everyone who has experienced trauma. And I also sadly agree with a lot of psychotherapy and a lot of healing practices often focus on symptoms. A lot of our medical field is doing that, sadly. Yeah. So I hope the same, that may people realize this real permanent I and be free of the temporary impersonal or temporary like personal eyes that can never be perfected. That's the problem. Like, there's a lot of self-help stuff going on in our culture, personal growth and everything. It's all good stuff, but the way nobody can perfect their body. Like, the body is gonna deteriorate. You can go to the gym, make six-pack abs, but you're gonna get old. You're gonna get diseases. There's no perfect body. There's no perfection in this physical form. Similarly, in the personal psyche, There's no perfect personality. The more we try to change the personality, the more we get stuck. So hope people come out of the personality because it's a mask in the end anyways. The personality is not who we are. So perfecting something that can never be perfected is sadly a lot of work what happens in my field. So yeah. Okay, well, our time is up. Thank you so much for joining, both of you. Really enjoyed this discussion. Would love to see you again next week and continue the discussion and exploration, and also like create more good quality content for people who want to listen to this. So yeah, thank you for your wisdom, both of you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Okay.
much.
Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Thursday.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.